While I was busy on testing out today's patch changes, especially to the cave drop-ins and Rupture strain, the Helldiver community was coming to grips with what Arrowhead had just added into the game, and so far the feedback is, well, it's something. Maybe it's good that we've been shifted now over to the bot front, giving the bugs time to simmer. I've got all of that covered for you in this one, so stick around, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to ring the notifications bell, and let's get into all the latest with Helldivers. Okay, so on days like today, where I wanted to dive in first thing and try out the new patch update changes, I tend to stay off of the news sites, social media, and all the rest of it, so I go in with a fresh perspective, which is how we went about testing the changes this morning. So when I posted my testing/feedback video kind of early in the day for me, the news sites had not caught up with the news on how and what this patch had actually done to the game. Well, that's no longer the case. Helldivers 2 patch 1.400.002 finally addresses one of the game's most maddening bugs. It's worse now. Helldivers 2 patch fixes Rupture Warrior bug by making attacks equally brutal for everyone rather than helping hosts. Helldivers 2 patch 1.400.002 dropped, and Arrowhead has finally addressed the now infamous Rupture Warrior bug everyone complained about. Hosts have been getting demolished by these underground nightmares for weeks, while clients enjoyed a much easier time. Good news? That bug is gone. Bad news? They fixed it by making clients suffer just as much as hosts always did. Notice how they didn't say made easier for hosts. They leveled the playing field by dragging everyone down to the host's nightmare experience. Those lucky SOS divers who've been playing on accidental easy mode, welcome to hell, courtesy of Managed Democracy's finest bug fixers. The old Rupture Warrior bug meant hosts faced near impossible dodge windows while clients could sidestep attacks without breaking a sweat. Arrowhead could have made the host experience more reasonable. Instead, they made the client experience equally unreasonable. Now everyone gets those brutal 11-frame reaction windows that made hosting feel like punishment. What could have been a nerf to Rupture Warriors has become a buff. I'll talk about that more in a bit, disguised as a bug fix. These things were already frustrating enough when only one player dealt with their full power. Now all four get to experience the joy of unavoidable underground attacks that come with zero warning and perfect tracking. This approach perfectly sums up the studio's design philosophy right now. If something works well for some players, clearly the solution is making it work poorly for everyone. Wow. Why fix the broken host experience when you can break the client experience to match? Democracy in action, folks. Arrowhead's communication strategy remains a dumpster fire wrapped in Managed Democracy propaganda. Their official Helldivers 2 news website hasn't been updated since March 2024, but they still expect players to dig through Discord channels for actual information. Professional communication apparently died alongside weapon balance. Wow, that's a zinger. The official subreddit overflows with posts begging Arrowhead to pause new content and fix existing problems. Players want a functional game more than they want new ways to suffer. Instead, they get patches that create more problems while claiming to solve old ones. This pattern keeps repeating. Remember when they nerfed every weapon into uselessness and spent months walking back those changes? The Rupture Warrior situation feels identical. Identifying a real problem, then solve it in the worst possible way while ignoring what players actually want. Arrowhead has built a community feedback system through Reddit and Discord, but they've now apparently decided player input is optional. The Rupture Warrior fix proves they're listening just enough to know what bothers people, but not enough to care about fixing it properly. Okay, wow. GamesRadar also ran with their own version of this, saying this: Arrowhead has fixed the Helldivers 2 bug that had Rupture Warriors destroying host players. Now they destroy everyone instead. You've got to be joking, right? 2 weeks of the game being in an absolutely dire state, and the most notable thing you tweak is to make the game actually worse for everyone. All of that was their headlines. Wow. Obviously, this was a bug, and obviously Arrowhead would fix it so that hosts were no longer unfairly targeted, right? Well, as detailed in the latest patch notes on Steam, Arrowhead decided to go the other direction.
buffing up the Rupture Warriors so they're equally deadly to everyone. This particular note has overshadowed pretty much everything else in the latest update. I agree with that statement. You can get a pretty good handle on the tone of the community's response by the titles of the Reddit threads. Quote, "Oh no, oh, you've got to be joking, right?" and "Rupture strain buff, sigh," among others. One odd balance tweak wouldn't be the end of the world, but in the context of all the standing complaints players have about bugs, performance issues, this is another straw atop the back of a camel that's already struggling mightily. Just listen to some of these quotes that they pulled from Reddit. "Are you just completely deaf at this point?" another Redditor asked in a message to the devs. "Where did the Arrowhead that made the 60-day patch go? Did they all quit or move on? Because this move is one of pure arrogance and bullheadedness." Ooh. 2 weeks of the game being in an absolutely dire state, and the most notable thing you tweak is to make the game actually worse for everyone. Of course, like I always do, you are welcome to check down in the video description and pinned comments for links to all of today's sources, where you can also find a link to my earlier patch update testing and impressions video. Go check that one out, because the TLDR there was that while there were some, I guess, notable and positive crash changes, Xbox improvements including better, more colorful visuals, and of course dragons now being damaged by both fire and gas, there were also some massive duds in that update, like what the studio did to prevent us from dropping in on the roofs of caves and that new everyone's gonna suffer changes to the Rupture Warriors. Anyways, more on that in a moment, because what was not live in the game when I did my testing earlier today was our latest major order, and the Helldivers are being pulled out of bug territory and now sent over to spill some Automaton oil, with a little tie back to the bugs in terms of objectives and requirements. Now this time we're being tasked with liberating 3 bot planets, starting off with 𝗙𝗲𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗲𝗍, which according to Helldivers Companion App, you divers are absolutely blitzing right now. I guess the break from the bug front has energized the base, no? And with over 160,000 total divers online right now, close to 120K of those are hitting the bots with the fury of managed democracy. Now, once we gain 𝗙𝗲𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗲𝗍, that will give us access to Zephyia, and after that, we have to take and hold the 3rd planet, Minatoria, when the order expires. The 4th and final requirement to earn those 55 medals is that we have to hold Outpost Alpha on Hellmire, and based on previous major orders, I'd fully expect Game Master Joel to unleash some sort of bug massive counteroffensive on Hellmire to try to split our forces and slow down our progress. Alright, because I know this gets a bit DoomDiver-ish as I go through the news, especially when it's news like today, but I wanted to say that as always, I'm still 1,000,000% Team Helldiver, and I truly believe you can love something but still be critical of it, especially when changes are made that are seen as having an overall negative effect on how it plays. So this is just me laying it all out here. I dive in with my crew, or I hit the random matchmaker on level 10s because I've always enjoyed the challenge that level provides. Into the Unjust has provided some crazy one-off only in Helldivers moments, and it's been great over the last few weeks, adding on things like Team Green, the ODST Warbond, Dust Devils, and of course Into the Unjust in rapid fire order. But with all of that speed and new content, the cracks in the armor are really starting to show for the game and how it's holding up or not holding up, which is where FandomWire picks up and runs with that idea, stating, quote, "Helldivers 2 could face disaster if Arrowhead doesn't deliver this before the next big update." Now, I'm not going to take you through the article. As you can probably guess, it's all about Arrowhead taking a step back, handling some of that tech debt, and getting the game back into a semi-stable state, which, by the way, I'm all for, because going back to that point I was making about level 10s and enjoying the difficulty, the way the game is playing right now, at least for me, is not good. The difficulty, which was based on high volumes of enemies, massive spawns, and concentrations of heavies, has now pivoted over to attacks that are nigh non-counterable and force players into using specific builds just to stay alive. And that point was driven home today with the changes they made to the Terminids. I want to jump back to it because this one bit from the first of those FandomWire articles really drives home the point that I think a lot of the Helldivers fandom is feeling right now. It said, Arrowhead has built a community feedback system through Reddit and Discord, but they've now apparently decided player input is optional. The Rupture Warrior fix proves they're listening just enough to know what bothers people, but not enough to care about fixing it properly. So, Arrowhead, if you're watching and listening to this video, here's my input and what I would suggest. First, while the Helldivers are over spilling some oil, take this time to get a technical grasp on what's working on the bug front. The concept of the caves is great. It's immersive and challenging, but that comes at the expense of wonky call-ins, major sound issues, and piss-poor technical performance. To me, that sounds like a massive trade-off just to be able to venture underground. If you need to take the cave missions offline until you've got them more sorted, then do it. We want to love them, but there's so much working against that right now. Sound issues are everywhere in the game right now, and they're amplified by this new update. Now, we've had ninja chargers in the game since the early days, but the only thing that is consistent with the sound is that it is wildly inconsistent. The last time we got the major sound overhaul, it also broke a lot, so I'd start with backtracking to that point and then rebuilding it from there. The Hellpod steering issue has been up and down more than the game itself. Now, we used to be able to land anywhere and do anything, then it was gone, then steering was back, and now with today's update, as you saw from my earlier video today, you are sometimes on rails when coming down from the Super Destroyer. Now, I know that for certain circumstances, you have to keep us like that, especially when going through those tight breaks in the cave roofs, but the call-in system in general is broken. Strat balls bouncing around and then disappearing to nothingness. Strats coming in miles away from where they were cast. I mean, you've got major collision issues right now in the game, and the engine doesn't have all the instances properly programmed, meaning when it gets confused, it reverts to whatever it has as a standby, which means bad things incoming for the Helldivers. And finally, the Rupture strain. Oh, baby. These are interesting on paper, with a subset of burrowing bugs that are more heavily armored on the fronts but softer on the tails than standard bugs, using the cover of Terra Firma to master advance. I mean, it sounds great, right? But in practice, it's not so sexy. Of the three, Chargers, Bile Spewers, and Warriors, the obvious offender here are the Warriors. How on earth you felt that spreading their brokenness to all members of the party was the play here is simply beyond me. Instead, you need to lengthen the parry windows for when these things breach to when they make contact with divers. This isn't a skill issue. It's not me or the community whining about difficulty. Again, I love Super Helldive and I enjoy a challenge, but this isn't qualifying as that. You've added a major annoyance to the game that is clearly broken and busted, and then you've spread it to the entire squad. Also, how is it that Rupture strain bugs can burrow underground and through solid rock to get at us and our call-ins like turrets and sentries? So what you could do here is just take the Rupture strain offline, especially while we're over tackling the bots. Rework the Warriors and their physics when around solid rock and reintroduce this entire strain back into the game. Spreading the brokenness is not the answer, nor was it ever. And for the future, and I'm speaking near future, we need a comprehensive performance-only pass to the game. It's time to smash the glass, Arrowhead. It's time to hit the buzzer for another 60-day sized patch overhaul, because you keep heaping more and more into the game, which it is new content. We all love it. It's new. We love to see it, but the side effect is more and more issues also within the game. But that's just my take on it all, and here's where you get to chime in with yours. Drop a comment in case Arrowhead does stop by and reads them. Honesty is always appreciated, but as always, keep it civil, and you know what I'm saying. Remember to hit subscribe and to ring the notifications bell to stay up to date on all things Helldivers. Fingers crossed we wake up tomorrow and get a message from Arrowhead that they are rolling back some of today's changes. Yeah. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.